Hi, this is Carolyn, and I'm here with Aaron, and this is part 2 of our episode with Kenny, who is the 4.0 18-plus singles national champion. In part 1, he gave a lot of great tips on how to succeed in every match and also told us his really interesting story about winning a cheese rolling competition. So if you haven't listened to part 1, we hope you go back and listen, but here is part 2.
Okay, let's talk about number 4. It's scouting and reading your opponents beforehand, warm up, and match.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of platforms that you can kind of, do your research and check. UTR is a big one that I use, Universal Tennis Rating. When you're playing tournaments, and even locally or somewhere else, you can ask other players, and even like maybe you played an opponent like in your division or your draw that you're probably not going to play them again, and you can ask players for insight. And if you're friendly, that's how I use that nationals. I'd say, give me a little bit. What does that guy do well? What is it? And a lot of people are, they're willing to open up and tell you about your next opponent. And so a lot of players, post videos of themselves on YouTube, especially, higher level players. And then, Swing Vision, if you can find them on Swing Vision, obviously you're going to see almost all the stats that you could imagine.
That's really smart. Gosh, I didn't think of any of this stuff before.
I never would have thought Swing Vision. I never would have thought to look there, but that's a great point.
Right.
Yeah, because Swing Vision, you're going to see pretty much, you can see everything and you can break it down. And so that's a really cool thing to check out. And then, so for warm up, during warm up, I'm using that to get myself ready, but I'm also using that to check out my opponent. See how they move, check how to handle their spin, see how they handle short balls, see how they handle overheads. And then I'm big, especially when playing doubles, but even in singles, of practicing returning serves. Now, I don't have to whack them. Sometimes I'll just hit it back to them. And I know some people kind of are annoyed by that, but it's also my warm up. So I like to return serves just as much actually as I practice serves in the warm up.
That's smart.
So again, with the match, take a break after this set. I know you guys have talked about that before. Think about what you're doing well. Think about what you're not doing well. Think about what your opponent. And then we are our best critics. And we don't have coaches. We're not fortunate just typically to have coaches on court with us. But we know, if we had a coach, what would our coach say? And if we're playing doubles, I say, hey, ask my partner, just to make sure we're on the right page. Okay, what am I doing? Or what do we need to do better?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Okay, for number 5, we've got handling multiple matches and downtime physically, mentally, emotionally. Can you talk about that?
In tournaments, you're going to be playing multiple matches per day. And so in my experience, playing these fast 4, if you're playing doubles and singles, you could play between 3 and 6 matches per day, which that is a lot to deal with. And for me, the hardest thing was just kind of mentally and emotionally decompressing after a match. Because you're just it was back to back to back, and you didn't have time just to you lose or you play a really tight match and you got to get ready right away for the next match. So after matches, when I have time, I certainly like to take my shoes off, walk around in sandals. I'm big on changing clothes, whether the match went well or not. And then, at nationals, it was so hot. So I was, literally taking a shower between matches, sometimes even when I had 30 minutes or an hour. As far as the emotional aspect, you got to move past those tough emotional matches and, forget about those mistakes, forget about those bad points. And I like a quote here. I use this a lot, and it goes, accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. And it comes from the author, Sonia Riccati.
That's great.
That's great.
So number 6 is playing your best tennis, mental strengths, adjustments, pressure, and you've got 3 of 3 written down here. I want to know what that is, but talk about all of those.
Yeah, so mental is obviously, really figuring out your greatest strengths and, tell yourself them and talk about them, before you're playing, especially when self-doubt creeps in and you're like, oh man, I suck, or I it's not going right. So when self-doubt creeps in my head, I like to go to my words and to kick in. And I think I mentioned those, but I say, I got this, grind, fight, win. And, it just gets me a little more pumped up and a little more motivated to play. And, you really have to understand what gets you excited and fired up. And, for me, when I had a chance to play on center court at nationals, that was added pressure. And I like that. Like I was just going to run a little bit harder. I was going to swing a little bit faster and just play a little bit bigger. And also, I like to record my matches. I use Swing Vision, and just simply recording matches or even having people watch there that like I typically don't know. I feed off of that and I play a little bit better and a little bit bigger. So it's just, can you develop that positive relationship with pressure and use it as a tool for you?
Yes, I agree with that.
And then another point of that was strengths. Like, write down your strengths, figure out, really what those, I think we all know them, but just simply writing them down. Like for me, my strengths are I'm very fast, I'm physical, I fight every point, and I typically play, big points well. I have weaknesses also, so I try to, stay away from those. And then as far as making adjustments, like you got to recognize in a match, if everything's going right, you don't have to think about it a lot, and that's how you should be playing. But when things aren't going right, you got to make those adjustments and really figure out. And that's why, like, especially after maybe you played a bad set, take a break. I think you guys have talked about it. Like, go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do, take just a moment to yourself, go fill up your water bottle somewhere, do something just to like kind of reset and come back out there. If you can, develop that positive relationship with pressure and use that as a tool to perform at your best, and that's what you see, the biggest players doing. So I have a crazy stat for you, or maybe like a pop quiz. What, according to this study, how many points should you be striving to win in a match?
I'm raising my hand. Nobody can see it. You have to win at least 51%. That's what I'm going with.
That's
but I don't know.
good.
Are you asking actual points?
Yeah, a percentage.
Percentage. Oh, 52. I'm going with 52.
Yeah, so we're taking pro tennis, and your goal really should be 52%. So if you're winning 52%, you're losing 48%. So you got to be mentally prepared to handle that. And they talk about this study of, they took the greats in singles, Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic. Those are the only players. They're all at like 54. Those are the only players throughout history that they've found that win more than 52% of their points overall.
Isn't that crazy?
If you look at stats across all of tennis, the most common rally length is crazy. It's one shot. And the second most common rally length is 3 shots. So like 70% of all points across all tennis, even pros and recreational tennis, is 70% of points will be played between 0 and 4 shots, or 1 and 4 shots. So to me, it's big understanding that and practicing that, because a lot of people will go out and practice like these huge long rallies, and that makes up such a small percentage of the actual game. And then the final thing I have to add about that is the 3 of 3 rule. If you win 3 of 3 of these, you're probably going to win the match. Even if you just win 2 of these, you're still probably going to win the match. So number 1 is your before the match preparation, your scouting, your strategy, your warm up, and your focus. That's number 1. All those things you can easily control. Number 2 is your on-court time, playing your points, playing those key points, winning those break points, saving those break points, and again, comes back to winning 52% of your points. And then the final thing is 3, and that's the time between points. And if you really think about it, there's probably more time between points than there actually is playing points. So the time between points it's the mental battle with yourself. It's the self-doubt. It's overcoming pressure, challenges, making adjustments. A lot of people kind of explain it as those 20 to 30 seconds between each point. And that makes up a huge part, probably the biggest part of a match.
Agreed. I have a lot of work to do, Aaron.
I know. We both do. Kenny's going to be our new guy we're going to call.
Yeah, reach out anytime.
I love that, though. Okay, number 7, post-match, opponents, cool down, physio, notes, match review. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of, you got to win and lose graciously and respectfully. Again, not all of your opponents are going to be your best friends. We've certainly ran into those people that we don't want to talk to ever again, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're playing a local league or a regional tournament, even a national, the tennis community is not that big. You're going to see these people again, almost 100% there's a chance you're going to see these people again. So when I win or lose a match, I really do try to be the same person, whether I win or lose. And I really believe, that's the way it should be. And I'm sure that you guys can tell me a million examples of people not acting that way. But I said, most of us are here to compete, win, and have fun. And we're not, we're not playing, we're not professional players. We're not playing for big money. We're not playing for millions of dollars and huge endorsements. So again, it's just important to handle that, with have fun and show good sportsmanship, in my opinion.
100%.
And then as far as like a cool down, this is something I've kind of recently incorporated because, I didn't really want to do it afterwards. Like, oh, it's fine. I don't need to do this. But, in most recent time, having a few injuries and then, playing tons of matches, multiple matches in a day, I really found that it was more important. So after a match for a cool down, I like to do like a light jog, 5-minute jog, or like when I play at the court near my house, I live really close to the courts. So I do like a 10-minute easy bike ride home. And I also use that as like a warm up. And then, if I'm feeling soreness, I certainly add some light stretching, icing, any aches. And then especially in tournaments, and hot weather, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this, but, making sure those feet and those fingers, watching for those hot spots, because it's tough to play if you have, blisters and all those kind of things.
I used to come home from matches, from singles matches mostly, if I had really sore legs. If I played during the day, but I still had to come home and work, I would fill up a trash can, like a big rubber trash can with ice and cold water, and I would stick my legs in it under my desk, and I would soak my legs that way. It was so helpful. I need to incorporate that again, but I used to do that all the time because my legs would be so sore from singles.
Yeah, so my football background, we would sit in ice baths every day after practice, after summer camps, and I totally feel like if you can get used to ice baths, especially in soreness, you can reduce your soreness by a big, maybe 25-50%.
Another thing you got to do, Carolyn.
Yeah, I know. Another thing I have to do, but also, how do you guys motivate yourself to do that?
I can't get in an ice bath, but I can put my legs in it.
Honestly, like it's tough. Some people use like these special toe pads so your toes don't go numb, because that's like the biggest thing. Like your toes or your hands will go numb. But honestly, it's mental. It's just like once you get used to it, like no one I think likes it originally, but once you get used to it, it's kind of like cold showers. There's research kind of along the same things about taking ice cold showers. I hated that. Like my first 20 years of my life, hated taking cold showers. Now I love taking cold showers no matter what the weather is like.
Listen, Carolyn, this is a man who did a cheese contest where he had to run down a hill really quickly. So he can take an ice bath.
Yeah, ice
he can
bath's
handle
not that
anything. He can handle anything.
Oh my goodness.
So again, after the match, I like to, take some notes, and especially, we talked about that review swing vision. If you don't have swing vision, you're not recording it. I still recommend that you maybe have someone record some for you, but if you can't, definitely, write some notes down, kind of review those things. And I said, I love swing vision because, you can really deep dive into all the stats and analytics and see what you're doing well and not, see the shots you were missing and making, and really break it down. And then, if you can, utilize and improve these things and all these steps, I'm sure you're going to win more matches, have more success, and kind of feel more comfortable and more in control and play better under pressure. And I like this kind of quote that I've kind of merged from others, and say like tennis is a journey with highs, lows, and lessons to learn. But most of all, it's experiences to enjoy, share, and remember.
I love that.
I love that.
We really appreciate Kenny being on the podcast. Kenny mentioned that he reviews his matches using Swing Vision, and we have an affiliate link and discount code for Swing Vision in our show notes and on our website, which is secondservepodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening, and hope to see you on the courts soon.